the operatives have descended. A whole bunch of people with 7 followers each have told me in the comments of my last video, "Oh, you're wrong about CISA. CISA has said that there's no evidence of election fraud." They didn't say that. I'll link to their statement below, and you could read exactly what they said. They also said CISA doesn't print ballots. I know. I was very specific about saying that CISA doesn't print ballots, that private companies print ballots. So I never said that CISA prints ballots. CISA doesn't audit ballots. I know. I never said they audit ballots. States audit ballots. CISA doesn't put security measures on ballots. I know. The states do. And they put watermarks. They use different types of paper. They used paper in our ballots here in California that isn't used in any other state. They also have things that we don't even know about. So what people are accusing me of saying things that I never said. This is called a straw man, where you put words in someone else's mouth and then you disagree with your own words. And this is how children argue. This is how Obama argued. And this straw men don't work when you're having to deal with concrete evidence. And there's a very simple reason for why this is not going to be allowed to stand. And that reason is that as of this moment, as we sit here right now, we no longer have a republic. The democratic process has been completely destroyed. So it can't be allowed to stand. That's all there is to it. It's going to be defeated, because if it's not defeated, then, have a go at what Biden says he's going to do. And, all over the country, leftist governors are cracking down even harder on everything. I read that Biden is going to mandate masks in your own houses, and they'll send people to come make sure you're wearing masks in your own houses. And if that doesn't work, maybe they'll put surveillance cameras in your own houses. Who knows? So this isn't going to stand, because it can't stand. As of this moment, we no longer have a republic. The entire country has been disenfranchised. So that's not a democratic representational republic. It's a dictatorship. And Obama was the closest thing. They used to say Huey Long was the closest thing we ever had to a dictator. He was a dictator. So was Obama. He ruled entirely by fiat. And the Republicans didn't do anything to stop him, because they're spineless. And a lot of them are still spineless. They can't wait to get rid of Trump. And everybody's saying Trump needs to leave the White House right now. No. He gets to stay in the White House until January 20th, okay? He is still president until January 20th. Essentially, we've got a couple more months to go, longer. So there are dates that have to do with the electoral process, but they're implicating all this. These fake ballots are making it impossible to determine who won in the House and who won in the Senate too. So there's not going to be anybody there. There's only one person. If we have absolutely nobody, then the only person with statutory authority to become temporary president is the president of the Senate pro tempore, Chuck Grassley, an iron-ribbed Republican. So, you know, this whole thing blew up in their faces, and there's still a lot more blowing up to do. So, straw men don't work on me. I'm not impressed by them. Now, I was thrown out of Twitter, and it was a relief because I spent 5 years of my life trying to convince people that Trump knows what he's doing. And those people have all come to YouTube and are doing it again. I pray that you're right. I sure hope you're right. Oh, but what about this? And it's like, okay, I have to be very blunt. You people make me sick, all right? You make me absolutely sick. Let's go over what we've gone through as a country, all right? The Revolutionary War, the War of 1812, where the British burned down the White House, the Civil War, of course, not a party. If you scale the military casualties up to today's population percentage, it's like 8 million deaths. It's or more. So there's a heck of a lot of Southerners who still hate Sherman, and they're not too fond of Lincoln. So that was yesterday. We survived that. The Germans, you folks don't know nothing. There are two countries in the world that have been the victims of biowarfare. One is China, when the Japanese engaged in biowarfare, and the other is the United States. Before we entered the war in 2017, the Germans decided that it was a good idea to conduct biowarfare in the United States. So they set up biowarfare labs, and they unleashed anthrax and God knows what in our country to kill our livestock. They engaged in massive, essentially terrorism. They blew up about 50 factories and an equal number of ships. Have you ever wondered why the Statue of Liberty torch is closed? It's been closed for over 100 years because of the Black Tom explosion. The Germans blew up a storage yard, shipyard, depot, and it so seriously damaged the Statue of Liberty torch that it hasn't been opened since 1916. It can't be opened. There's shrapnel holes in it. There's still shrapnel holes in the Statue of Liberty. You guys didn't know that. So we went through terrorism. We went through World War I. We went through World War II. The Great Depression. Now, you folks have attributed superpowers to Nancy Pelosi and Joe Biden. And there's, no matter what I can do, the deep state, the CIA is absolute. It's the leadership is totally incompetent. All right. And the Democratic Party is incompetent. This alleged attempt to steal the election through mail-in ballots, they were just counting empty ballots that nobody had even sent in. This is ridiculous, and all you people think that as long as the media and I forgot what it's called, social media, Yeah, social media. I've already, I'm, since I've been banned, I already put it out of my mind. You guys think that they call the presidency? They determine who's president. I mean, you guys are insane. Um, and you're gutless and you're spineless. I don't want to hear your fears. I do not want to hear your fears. Okay. Um, it's all our ancestors who were lying in military cemeteries. They're looking down and they're going, "Oh God, what happened to them?" I mean, if we can defeat the Nazis and the Imperial Japanese simultaneously, you think we can't defeat the Democrats? You think we can't defeat one of the most childish attempts to steal an election in the history of the entire planet? This is Saddam Hussein stuff, where he had an election and he got 99% of the vote. These ballots that were dropped for Joe Biden were 99.6% for Biden. I mean, come on. And you're afraid. I pray you're right. I hope you're right. So let me tell you a little story. I was born and raised in Venezuela, and the only thing you never did in Venezuela was call the cops, because the cops are worse than the criminals. And the general directorate of police was the Venezuelan secret police. It was known as DHEPOL. And DHEPOL was a mafia. It murdered people, um, and it destroyed um, opposition press. It arrested political opposition, and it kidnapped people. And my father worked for Creole, which was a wholly owned subsidiary of Esso Exxon. And what they did was they created their own informal security force of mostly Korean War veterans, Korean War combat veterans. And um, Dihapol tried to kidnap. I was in a car with my father and my oldest brother, who's now in Las Vegas. Um, I can't remember who else is there, but what my father did was he smuggled in a World War I era Browning automatic rifle, and his father had served in World War I, and his father brought home a shitload of weapons that nobody knew about. He smuggled them all in, and my father got his father to send him a Browning automatic rifle. And you know, you could get whatever you wanted into Venezuela by bribing the customs officials. So it would have been the easiest thing in the world to get a rifle in, especially if it were what do you call it, dismantled. A Browning automatic rifle is very long, so my father shortened the barrel and he shortened the buttstock, and he made his own 30 round magazines. The Browning is a fully automatic weapon, the BAR, that's what it's called, and it fires a 30-06 bullet, which is, I don't know, 10 times more powerful than the bullets used in the M16. I mean, they're devastating. And back in those days, the car we had, it had what are called bench seats, and between the front driver and passenger seat there was this slot. It was very tight. So my father put his modified Browning there, and he kept the magazine out. He kept the magazine down between his legs. So it couldn't be seen. It was totally invisible. And so we were out on a back road and we got pulled over by Dihipol. So these four guys got out of their car and they were wearing suits and they had their dark glasses and they had their mustaches and they were, they just looked like your typical third world secret police thugs swaggering. And they may have had pistols. I think they would have. But nobody ever fought back against Dihipol. So my father saw him coming and he told us, get down on the floor and cover your ears. And he took his 30 round magazine and he put it in the Browning, the BAR, and he managed to disguise his. He got it out without anybody seeing because nobody thought of this. And he rolled down the front passenger. There were no power windows. So he reached across me and he rolled down my window and he reached across and he rolled down his own window. And, he turned off the ignition and he put the key on the dashboard. So he looked all cooperative and afraid. So these guys came up to the car and there were two on one side and two on the other. And when they got up to the car, my father instantly shot the guy next to him in the head. And again, it's a fully automatic weapon. So this guy took about a 4-round burst of 30-06, so his head completely exploded. And then my father reached across me and he shot the other guy in the head, and his head exploded, and the contents of his head showered me. Then the other two guys ran off to their car. They were going to get away. So my father hopped out of the car and he lay against the side of the car and he fired two more 4-round bursts into their heads as they ran, and their heads exploded. And then he moved the dead body next to the driver's side away, and he got back in the car and he said, "All right, all clear." He had a rag, so he wiped most of the. I had stuff in my mouth, so he told me to spit, and he wiped it off. And I remember there was an eyeball in my lap, and it went into my mouth, and it was there were teeth in the car. Um, and my father was inured to that kind of thing, and so I was just my brother and I were in shock. We didn't scream or anything. We were just. And my father said, they were dirty cops. They got what they deserved, and we went to a gas station, and he cleaned me up, and okay, my father knew everyone in Venezuela, so I didn't even know. And it looked pretty obvious that this is a guy cleaning brains and teeth and an eyeball out of this car, but nobody said anything. And I think he took, okay, Venezuela is really hot. So yeah, he took off my shirt. He just threw it away, so I was shirtless, and I couldn't take off my shorts. So I drove home, or he drove us home, and then I changed. And if he told my mother, he didn't tell her in front of us. But um, what what I learned later, after my father died, a lot of people started talking to me, people who were near their own end, and they said that they were tailing the Dihipol guys. So after my father killed him, we took off, and then they got rid of the bodies in the car. And this happened. This happened a couple of times, and then it stopped because the U.S. government and SO Exxon leaned really hard on Venezuela, and actually we got Dihipol disbanded. They, of course, replaced it with another group just as bad, but nobody messed with my father ever again. And he wasn't arrested because these are murderers who all they could deal with were defenseless civilians. And my father was a combat veteran who'd spent most of the Korean War behind enemy lines. So Venezuelan mafioso cops were like no challenge to him. My father, he never lost his combat instincts. And, I'm assuming that 3 straight years of clandestine combat sort of makes you forever that person. And they never messed with us or my father again. That was my life, okay? And yeah, I have PTSD. I have PTSD that's so bad that I'm a hermit now. I have to take 7 medications. My PTSD manifests itself as rage, not fear, rage. But I'm not angry at anyone right now. I'm enjoying myself, okay? You guys have no excuse. If a guy with such horrible PTSD can be having a good time, you have no excuse, all right? So, we're down to the wire. We've been through much worse. We've been through world wars. This is a disgrace. You have no business being this afraid. It's a party of drunk weirdos, of people who do really bad things to defenseless victims, and who are delusional. They're all delusional. They think they're acting now as if it's a done deal, as if Trump has no ability to discover what they did. And they're depending on the press to cover for them. They honestly think, see, none of them know how the government works, even though they're in the government, and they've been in the government for 200 years. They think that the press is going to tell Trump to leave, and he's going to go, oh, okay. Trump was tweeting about mail-in ballot fraud in 2013. What are the odds that he made no preparations and he just went, oh, like you, he said, I pray it doesn't happen. I sure hope it doesn't happen. No, that's not Trump. That's you. And if you're going to be like that, then do not comment on my videos, okay? I don't want to hear it. I only want to hear from my people, the fearless people who are having fun, okay? If you're not having fun, I don't want to hear from you. I don't want to hear from you, okay? It's a disgrace. We've been through a million times worse. And you're acting like Trump has no chance against, what was the James Bond villain organization? Spectre. You're acting like the Democrats are Spectre. This is ridiculous.
You can act like a man! What's the matter with you? Is this how you turned out a Hollywood Pinocchio that cries like a woman? What can I do? What can I do?
And again, I spent 5 years trying to get through to you people, and it didn't work. So, I'll be on YouTube for as long as they let me, and you're not gonna infect me. You're not gonna try and infect my comment sections with your fear. You got that? Click.